Welcome to Advanced Programs Information Night. My name is Thomas McIntosh, and I'm serving as co-chair of the Goochland Gifted Advisory Committee. On behalf of the group, which we affectionately refer to as GAC, I'd like to welcome you to tonight's event. GAC is one of several school board advisory committees within Goochland County Public Schools. We're made up of parent representatives from each of our 5 schools, gifted resource teachers and advisors, and both building and division level administrators. We are also fortunate to have Ms. Angela Allen as our current school board member on GAC. At this time, I'd like to invite GAC members, as well as any other administrators and school board members, to stand and be recognized. Thank you for your service in joining us tonight. The purpose of the Gifted Advisory Committee, simply stated, is to provide feedback and advice concerning gifted programs available to Goochland County's public school students. Additionally, we have input on the school division's long-term plans for gifted services. Please feel free to contact any member who you just saw stand if you have interest in learning more about Gifted in Goochland, discussing a concern, or learning more about the group. Any of us would be happy to speak with you. With that, I'd like to turn tonight's program over to Dr. Beth Fowler, GCPS Coordinator of Advanced Programs, for introduction of our first speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for everyone for coming out this evening. I know how hard it is to get to an event after school, particularly after a long day of school or after work. So we will try to make this well worth your time. I'm Dr. Beth Fowler, and as Mr. McIntosh said, I'm the coordinator of Advanced Programs and Equity for Goochland County Public Schools. So I am very proud to be the point of contact within the district for all the advanced programs you're going to hear about tonight, whether it's Blue Ridge, ACA, Maggie Walker. Feel free to reach out at any time to me. You will see me do a little double duty tonight because I also get the honor of being the ACA site coordinator, so I will present and speak on that program during our presentation. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Ms. Wanda Elliott, the director of Blue Ridge, Virginia Governor's School. And she'll probably explain that Virginia if it sounded good.
Good evening. I had the blessing of being able to speak to your 8th graders today, and we did a full-blown presentation for them with a lot of details. I'm not going to take you all through that 25 or 30 minutes. I will tell you that on our website, that is available to you. There's a link to some of the things we've done as the recruitment season has been in full swing. But I am Wanda Elliott. I'm blessed to be the director at Blue Ridge, Virginia Governor's School. We have been in existence since the year 2000. Been graduating seniors for 20 years now. And it is a 4-year program within the local high school. We are an academic year governor's school. Your students would spend approximately 1/4 of their day with us their entire 4 years while they're at Goochland High School. Our 9th grade coursework is World History 1 and World History 2 with a focus on technology. There are group projects embedded into that course where students learn how to collaborate, how to work with people they don't know. They would be combining with students from the other counties. And eventually how to do a little bit of public speaking as the springtime rolls around in that class. We have the vertical skills set in place so by the time they are seniors, they are much more comfortable speaking publicly. That class also includes 2 trips to Washington, D.C. to see various locations that are relevant to this, whatever they're studying in that particular time frame. We just returned from seeing the National Cathedral and studying the architecture there. That building is all stone, no steel, and is 10 stories high. And then they spent the afternoon at the National Gallery of Art studying period pieces relevant to the time frame within the world history they were working with. We'll return in the spring while they visit the Holocaust Museum and the World Memorials in DC for the World History 2 time frame. During their sophomore year, they are going to be taking an AP biology course. We make sure that the 9th graders are in regular biology to be prepared for the advanced placement biology that sophomore year. That year, they will have 2 projects embedded as well. One is a research project with Virginia Tech. We have a professor who comes down and visits with us, works with a plant called Arabidopsis, and the students treat the plant with something that either helps or hinders the growth of the plant, records all of their data and observations. At the end of the semester, the professor comes back and the students report out in groups again to the professor with their results. He then takes that back to Tech and uses that in his research for about 15 years ago. So we're terribly excited to be involved in that level of research for that long with a school program. They have another project that's group-oriented during the AP biology as well. Junior and senior year, they moved to some online coursework, nothing like what they dealt with in the pandemic. These are courses through UVA or Shenandoah University or some of our local instructors that are geared towards becoming a more independent learner, but still having supports in place to help them succeed academically. The list of classes we have are UVA options in engineering and healthcare and digital media and some other things. Shenandoah does a course in medical ethics. We have 2 AP classes that run year-long in both stats and environmental science. We have some amazing opportunities through NASA. And we also understand that your student may not fit into the STEM box all the time. So we have the option for your student to find a accredited university course through a community college or full university, and we'll pay up to $300 towards the student taking that class. For instance, students have used that to take agricultural science classes and or criminology courses, things that we don't typically offer, but are within the student's passion. The 4th year with Blue Ridge is going to be their senior capstone, where they get to pick what they study for the full year. It can be a passion project, it can be a possible career choice, it can be something off the wall they wanted to look into and just haven't. We have all of the topics you could possibly imagine in a STEM school. We have a student right now who's with an orthopedic surgeon. She got permission to scrub into the OR one day with him. That's unheard of. We have all kinds of other things going on. Students have done dance therapy, they have done architecture, they have done marine biology. We've had a young person just recently from here who's now working with the Toyota apprenticeship program, having graduated with us. So there's a wide variety of interests that capstone can fill. And there are teachers and building teachers for freshman, sophomore, and senior year, so that the students are not just out there doing their own thing without supports. In addition to all of these amazing things, we also have a full-time counselor on staff. So if the wheels start to wobble, I like to say, and your gifted child finally has struggled, stressed, or just needs some additional supports, Ms. Bunovich can go out and speak with them, just give them some additional supports, be a non-academic face in their world where they can just let her know how things are. Sometimes students need success plans, which means they maybe haven't had to study, and helping them figure out how to do that and how to make it all work is part of what Ms. Bunovich does. We have a handful of students here tonight from Blue Ridge. I'll get them to come up and you can pop questions at them if you have questions from the student perspective. They're as bad as I am. Come on. Applying for us is pretty straightforward. There was a postcard as you came in. Our website is on that. The first page on the website says admissions and application steps. So applying is pretty straightforward. You just click the link, give us some demographic information, and then 3 teachers to write references, and really it's an online reference form. There are no letters of reference involved, and they're applied. And come January, they can go through the application process with us. Some divisions have 36 slots each year, some divisions have 18. It just depends on the depth of the applicant pool, because we want to make sure that it's a good fit for the student. If you guys would tell us your first name, what grade you're in, and what class you're in.
My name is Tommy Kev. I'm in 10th grade, and right now I'm in AP Biology with Miss Alford. I'm Maite Ortega, and I'm in 10th grade too, and I'm in AP Bio with Miss Alford as well.
I'm Josh Gaskell. I'm in 10th grade, and I'm also in AP Bio.
I'm Jed Fowler. I'm in 10th grade, and I'm also in AP Bio. I'm Wyatt Abram. I'm a junior, and I'm in cybersecurity.
We basically coerce the biology class to show up. Do you all have any questions of the students first? Particularly from the students.
How do you find being in the Blue Ridge School and being part of the Blue Ridge community? How's the overlap? How's the classes? And, your average day? What is that like? Are you separated? How do you feel about that?
I feel meshed. We feel close with the cohort, like we're close with the kids in Blue Ridge, I feel like, but we have plenty of classes with different kids from different classes and electives and maths and Englishes. Like we have so many opportunities to still do normal classes with other kids that aren't in Blue Ridge.
And you have your football trip.
Oh yeah, sports and stuff is fine to, there's plenty of time to do sports and extracurricular activities with friends and stuff.
If I can pop in real quick, Blue Ridge also acknowledges the importance of ACA program and some other CTE programs that Goochland may offer. Blue Ridge, the seal on their diploma requires 8 specific Blue Ridge credits of the 32 options your student will have in high school. We drop that down to 6 if they're in the ACA program, because we understand it's harder as you get to be juniors and seniors to juggle all of it. So they will do 2, 2, 1, and 1 if they're in the ACA program or in some of the CTE programs. So we try to work it so they don't have to make choices. Any other concerns or questions?
I wonder if anybody could speak to what it's like to work on projects with students from other schools that have Blue Ridge students. Talk about that experience a little bit. Yeah, the struggles, the good, bad.
Yeah, so we usually take it's like 1 or 2 field trips every year. We just took one yesterday we meet up with the groups and we do research or finish or work on the project or whatever. And then when we come back, we can do ours, or we have it planned out so we each do our separate things. And then we can also email and work together for the rest of it. You're also with a few people in your class.
I think realistically, they do struggle sometimes with communication, and we try to scaffold that, if you will, 9th, 10th, and 11th grade to help them better communicate with each other, because I know they've all been frustrated at times with someone not doing their end of the deal, or whatever that group work dynamic looks like, and we're aware and work towards helping them work through those things.
Questions about Blue Ridge? We do have some students up here, actually, maybe all of them, who are Blue Ridge ACA combo students. So if there are any questions about that combination, if you want to ask them now, you certainly could. You'll have an opportunity again when I present on ACA.
Thank you so much. We have an email for my staff team, team@vrvgs.k12.va.us. You are welcome to email us any questions about the application, the school, anything of that nature. Our program is fully covered cost-wise. It is free to you and your family and your students. The only exception to that is occasionally they will take international travel trips. We're going to Brazil this coming summer. I'm not, some of my team members are. That's the only cost we can't cover for your students. So the UVA tuition, all the things that I've talked about tonight are covered under our half of the budget, and your child would participate in the program free. Any questions for me before I turn the program back over to Dr. Ballard? Yes.
Could you explain, I think you mentioned earlier, you said that if there's an alternative class with a community college they're interested in, that there's possibility, there's flexibility?
Yes, wow, I'm back in my, the students have to take, we have a list of classes called core classes. So junior year, they have to take one of our cores because we still have the group structure and everything involved in those classes as well. But again, a student who has a passion outside of that list of things, it's actually on our website as well, can just research and reach out. We've had students take courses at Brigham Young, at other places, I mean, just any place they can find several community college options. They submit it to an online request form, the committee looks at it and decides whether or not it's, 1, not offered at Goochland High School, 2, is not offered by Blue Ridge, is from a fully accredited place, because we don't want children taking stuff and then they can't use it on their transcripts. And then we will pay $300 of their course cost right up front for them to take the class. As budget allows, that might be able to be $600 depending on what's going on at the moment. But that's not an every now. It's only once during a child's career that we could give them $600 to take the class, or twice at $300 during their 4 years. But that class itself would count as one of their Blue Ridge credits towards graduation. So the core class they would take this off an independent study course. They could take another independent study course and be done except for their capstone their senior year.
Thank you.
Can you break down the number of enrollment that's in the program versus the school year?
Well, I have about 600 kids in Blue Ridge across 7 counties. And it depends, some divisions have a single 9th grade class and a single sophomore class and a single junior and single seniors at 18 kids. Other divisions, Orange County, for instance, runs 2 sections of 18, so it varies depending on which county's involved. Some of the smaller schools, Madison and Nelson, are traditionally just 1 section. So if the high school's smaller, generally there's one section of Blue Ridge students. The other piece is the application process is only competitive within your own county. So the Goochland students will only compete with Goochland students for those slots. We are, so 18, depending on what the size of your ninth grade class is, or maybe 36, is about the size ratio for us.
I can add a little history there from the Goochland perspective. For probably about the last decade or so, we have had two sections with the exception of our current ninth grade class. Our application numbers were down tremendously for Blue Ridge last year, and so there is a single cohort where you were kind enough with board approval to allow us to have 20 students in that cohort.
And it just depends, again, most counties make the decision depending on how many students apply and the not quality, that's not the right word, but the good fit nature of, whether the kids will be successful. It is a rigorous program, and we don't want to put a child in a situation from the get-go that we know will not be a successful venture. Yes?
When is the application deadline?
December the 8th is the last day to submit the applications, and that's a hard date. So please be sure, tomorrow's good, no. 3 teachers, you just need to reach out to 3 teachers and then do the parent-family demographic pieces. The teachers are gonna, your student would reach out to the teachers, send an email, will you please be a reference for me for Blue Ridge? There's a link on our website that they can put into that email. The teachers fill out a Google form, no letter required, and that's it. So it is pretty straightforward to get your name into the hat, and then we move from there.
Last question. Are the kids required to do an essay or something?
During January through March, the application process becomes aptitude testing, achievement testing, mini interview with the middle school staff, literally simple questions. Then they do a problem-solving writing sample, where they're given some data and some extra data and data that they have to filter through and decide what's important. And their grades, of course, will be considered from 7th grade and 8th grade and their teacher recommendations. All of those components are dumped into a spreadsheet, assessed by a rubric. Certain things are weighted heavier than others, and then the students are notified in March of who has been accepted.
Could you talk a little bit about the standardized testing?
That's more of a locality question, because different counties are using different pieces. Are you guys using Iowa and, okay. So we've got various things going on. So I will be hard pressed to give you details about what Goochland does, because the middle school staff and the central office staff, each county handles their own testing and process themselves. So it's.
So we use nationally normed standardized tests. And typically we don't advertise exactly which tests they are, just because there are some folks, as you can imagine, who might go out and buy those tests.
That's across the program of concern, so we're not real. But they're normal tests the kids took, pretty much like they would take them any other time. It's nothing extraordinary, certainly.
Delivered online, they'll take them on their iPads, kind of formats that they're very comfortable with. It'll happen during the school day, and there will be 1 day of testing and 1 day for the writing.
Designated specifically for 8th grade aptitudes levels, so it's very much on radar. Thank you so very much for your attention tonight. If you have any questions, I'm gonna stick around till we're done tonight, and certainly send us an email if you think of something after you're gone. Thank you.
While we're switching over to the Assistant Director for Maggie Walker, I'll take a minute to editorialize just a bit. I'll switch hats. You've met me as the Coordinator of Advanced Programs. I told you I'm the ACA Site Director. I'll also tell you I'm the proud parent of a Blue Ridge graduate who's at UVA this year. And so from the kind of parent heart, I would like to just give credit where credit is due, that I feel like that Blue Ridge program really prepared my student for collaborating with strangers, talking to adults in a way that stretched her comfort level, and making public presentations and being comfortable in that sort of setting. So I just want to give kudos to Blue Ridge for that. And with that, I should have explained that Unity Day picture you were looking at a minute ago. Hopefully, as parents of Goochland students, you were aware that division-wide today we were celebrating Unity Day, which actually nationwide happened last week while we were closed, so we moved it just for Goochland, of course. It's a day where we celebrate our stance against bullying and to be an upstander, not a bystander. And so you'll see lots of students and staff wearing orange today, and you saw our chalk sidewalk in celebration of that as well. And without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to one of my absolute favorite human beings in this world, Dr. Max Smith, who is the Assistant Director at Maggie Lee Walker Governor's School for International Relations and Government.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to take a moment in order to get my presentation up.
Did I tell you that Max sings? Mr. Berger, we switched computers and lost the meeting. Yeah, we practiced this.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Max Smith. I've been the Assistant Director at Maggie L. Walker Governor's School now for 8 years, and before that, I was a teacher at Maggie Walker Governor's School for 8 years, so this is my 16th year with the organization. I was told when I was coming in by one of the English teachers, this is back in the summer of 2008, she says, when you get here, it's going to be like swimming in cream, and it really has been that experience for me. I really believe in the mission. I really enjoy working with students like Daniel, who I brought with me tonight, who's a student from out here in Goochland, in order to help with the presentation, be able to answer some questions, and I know you want to hear from him a lot more than you want to hear from me. Daniel, could you give a little brief introduction for yourself?
Yeah, so I went to Randolph, I don't know if any of y'all went to Randolph, and then I went to Goochland Middle School, and then I got to Maggie Walker. I'm a junior this year, and I really love the school. It's a great place.
All right, without further ado, for tonight, our agenda will focus on the mission, the history, we'll get to look at the academics, our organizations, extracurriculars, we'll finish up with counseling and support, and with our admission schedule. We're very proud of our namesake, Maggie Lena Walker. She was the first African-American bank president. She also was the editor of and owner of her own newspaper. She had very humble origins in the antebellum, in the post-war South at the end of the 19th century, and was really a trailblazer for education, equality, civil rights, and particularly for female empowerment as well. That's a picture of her bust outside of the front of our school. Our mission and vision, we're looking to create students who can be local and global leaders, people who feel a sense of connectedness with the international community, people who take civic responsibility on a very important level and hold very diverse worldviews. That mission and vision is upheld by 4 pillars. We call them the Walker Way. This helps to inform our program, helps to inform some of our projects, our pedagogy at the school, courage, compassion, community, and collaboration. Now, these actually came out the same year that you arrived at Maggie Walker. Daniel, could you tell me one of these that you think is reflected in something we do at the school?
I think community is a huge part of our school. It's really our school is a very accepting place. Everybody that comes in always talks about how welcome they feel, and I mean even visitors come in talking about how it's different from other schools that they go to and they talk at. It's just everybody is very on board with the mission of our school.
For who can apply, we try to keep the doors open wide. Any current 8th grader living in one of our participating divisions, which we have 14 at this point, and we have about 780 students currently. You have to be able to show that you successfully completed Algebra 1 or a higher level math by the time that you're done with 8th grade. And a student would have to have a 3.0 cumulative grade point average, and that would be based on their 7th grade year, as well as the first semester of 8th grade. These are some pictures from Fall Festival, which happened just last week at the school. It's a big event that we have, and it's one thing that makes us unique. Daniel, can you tell us a little bit about Fall Festival?
Yeah, so Fall Festival, so we have a bunch of clubs at our school. Do you know how many is it?
Over 60.
Over 60 clubs at our school, and so Fall Festival is a time when every club is able to set up a table and raise money by selling different things through the club. Maybe it's something that they represent. I know the robotics club brings out a robot and you get to like race it around and stuff. It's fun. And it's just a place when alumni come, people off the street come, because it's a huge event, and then pretty much every student stays for at least an hour or two, and it's just it's a great community building experience.
Great way for some clubs to be able to raise funds internally. A lot of groups also raise money for doing international travel. Some booths raise money for charity. And so it's really a big part of our tradition in the fall. Now up here, I have some of the student freedoms that make us unique, some of the extra events that we have at Maggie Walker. Daniel, might you be able to speak on one of these that you really enjoy?
Yeah, so everybody has lunch at the same time, which is really nice. Goochland does not have that, unfortunately, but you get to eat lunch with anybody that you want on campus, anywhere you want on campus. You can go outside, you can use the time to go study with friends. You can go, most teachers are available during lunch, so if you're having trouble with a particular subject, it's often, you can go talk to that teacher or get help from tutoring, which is offered for free at our school. The bells are also really nice. We don't have them. So it's really just an extra freedom that they trust us to know when to leave and when to be in place, and it's just something that most schools have that we feel that we get the freedom to not have to have.
We don't even have hall passes. We treat our students as adults until they give us a reason not to, and usually we are not disappointed. We allow the students to go out throughout the campus during lunchtime. Our study halls are unmonitored. Students just sign themselves out of classes. We really try to create this environment of trust and belonging for our students. On the academic side, we have an interdisciplinary approach. In 9th grade, students would be taking Global Studies 9 and as well as World Literature 9. And these are both regional approaches to being able to learn about history, about art, about culture, about literature. And these programs continue on into 10th grade. I can tell you when I first got to governor's school from teaching in Henrico County, I was only keeping about 2 weeks ahead of my students because we were learning about places like Sub-Saharan Africa, the Middle East, Japan, looking at Latin America. These were all places that in my own experience in high school and college, I had very limited exposure to. Some of that regional approach is also done in our fine arts program, particularly in Arts 1 or in some of the music program with the pieces that they select for the fall concert, the winter concert, and the spring concert. But our crown jewel is our international languages program. We have languages that are offered at very, very few other high schools throughout the Commonwealth, and students are able to take 2, even 3 different languages with us. We also have a wide variety of social science electives as well as seminars at the upper levels. Daniel, could you speak on the international languages?
Yeah, so my freshman year, I took Spanish 2, which I had taken at Goochland, but I retook just so I can catch back up with some of the people from other counties that had been more exposed to languages, which is something that if you're not confident in the language that you're taking right now and you want to retake a language, it's very easy to do so. So I'm now in Spanish 4, which is great. I know my Spanish teacher is awesome. She loves teaching us. It's perfect. And then I'm also taking American Sign Language 2, which I started last year. It's something that I never thought I would get to learn, but I've even noticed in my community that I'm using. I go to Hope Church down in Patterson, and they have a translator on next to the stage, and it's just something that I never thought I would see until I started learning it, and I noticed it more. I have friends that take Latin, Russian, Chinese. I know one of the Goochland students that's a freshman now is taking Chinese. He loves it. The language program is amazing.
2 things I would mention just about the languages that Daniel highlighted that he was taking. Spanish, we actually take it all the way up to Spanish conversation, so we have 2 levels after AP that we offer. So if you're coming in from middle school with high school credits in Spanish or in French, those are going to count in order to get you a head start into our 4-year language program. ASL, which Daniel is taking, the teacher for that was born profoundly deaf. And so when I go into that room, it is completely silent. And I have to go over to a student and say, can you tell me what's going on in here? Because everyone is signing to each other. It's almost an immersive environment. And that's only a 2-year language. Some years a 3-year language or so, but it's definitely one of our most popular. And I don't know another high school locally that is teaching American Sign Language. And I just think it's a really neat aspect of our program. We also offer a big range of dual enrollment classes, advanced placement courses. This is a great way to get a start on college credits ahead of time. We've actually had students go in technically on paper as sophomores into college because they're bringing 30 plus credits along with them. The dual enrollments are with VCU. That's a real distinction for us, is that our faculty are certified to teach those classes by VCU, so it's as if they are teaching a VCU course right on our campus. And occasionally, if a student really, really excels in a particular area, I'm thinking of math in particular, if they get beyond calculus, AB, BC, discrete math, we've had students actually take courses over on VCU's campus, which is only about 5 minutes down the road. It's a real big advantage for being in the heart of the city. Daniel, you mentioned to me earlier that you're taking a couple of dual enrollments and a couple of APs. Could you speak to that?
So last year I took AP Computer Science, and I really loved that class. This year I'm taking AP US History and AP Lang, I think. It's either AP Lang or AP Lit, can't remember which one. And then I'm taking 2 VCU classes. It's VCU Calculus, and I'm taking VCU Darkroom, which is a photography and art class. It's probably one of my favorite classes. It's just a high-level art class. It's really fun.
We also allow students to be able to pursue their passions by taking electives. As they advance through the program, there are all sorts of different electives, whether you're a real STEM kid, or you're a real languages kid, or you're a real social studies kid. We have plenty of teachers who are very passionate about certain subjects and are happy to teach students who are equally passionate about them. Years ago, when I was teaching in the social studies department, I had a course called 20th Century Dictators. We looked at dictatorship from Idi Amin to the Perones to Ayatollah Khomeini to the Kim family in North Korea. And we looked at the similarities and differences as the way that they rose to power, as to how they were able to hold on to power, be able to control dissent, things like that. Awesome experience for me, and the students who have come back for their 10-year reunion just this weekend are telling me what a profound experience it was for them. Have you ever had a chance to take one of the electives at the higher levels, Dan?
I haven't taken one of them yet, but I have some friends taking the civil rights class with one of our teachers. I think Ms. Cross teaches it.
Yes.
I know all of them love the experience. It's something that they are very glad that they got the opportunity to do.
Yeah, and thinking about that class, I know last year, and I believe this year, they did a field trip that went all the way from Atlanta and seeing Dr. King's church that he preached in, and went all the way to Birmingham, Alabama, in order to be able to trace some of the movements and major events, major people of the civil rights movement. Up here, we see the graduation requirements for the school. For an advanced diploma, the ones that are not highlighted are directly in line with advanced diploma, but some that I would like to highlight that are particular to the Maggie Walker diploma are where we go above and beyond, like a 5th social studies, allowing students to not just take the core curriculum of social studies, but be able to take something like American pop culture, historiography, a course like I taught, the 20th Century Dictators, a specialization on Southeast Asia. The international languages, as you'll remember, we have a 4-year language and we have a 2-year language, but some students even take 3 languages while they're with us. Now there are 3 other courses I'd like to highlight for you. The freshman experience, we lovingly call it FERC. That's Fundamentals in Independent Research and Communication. There's a senior seminar and mentorship, and then we do have a community service requirement because we do believe in that pillar of the Walker Way community. Daniel, could you speak about these three? I think they're something that really make us unique.
So FERC is a class that all freshmen take. It starts in one of the 4 core classes. So you're gonna have a math class, it's gonna be a statistics class, where you just learn how to use a Texas Instruments calculator. You're gonna have a science class where you really learn how to use Excel and Google Sheets. You're gonna have a history class where you learn how to write a paper that is very well researched, and I know everybody is always talking about that paper every year. It's always fun. And then the last one is public speaking. It's an English class, and you have to go and give small speeches in front of the class, and it seems stressful at first, but it's actually really helpful. It's a really fun class. It's a life skill that everybody needs to know.
And can you tell them about what you're thinking about for mentorship and what you've been doing for community service?
Yeah, so I am going to do a mentorship or a senior seminar. There's a couple of senior seminars that are really interesting. There's a sabermetrics, which is like a history of baseball and math using predicting stuff, which I'm really interested in. There's a couple other that are really cool, but then a mentorship, you get to choose what you want to do. You get to find someone that you want to mentor under. I know a lot of people at our school do doctors through VCU Health, and then there's a bunch of other stuff, just whatever you're interested in. I potentially want to work in a church when I'm older, so I'm going to see if I can become a pastor. I think it's something that I would be available to do. And then for community service, anything in the environment, in the community is helpful. And I mean, I know people go clean up stuff in parks. There's a lot of school organized river cleanups and stuff like that through different clubs. I volunteer through my church, and I'm able to do stuff through that that's helpful, and I'm able to get hours pretty easily. It's not something that a lot of people are very stressed about when thinking about the required hours.
The community service allows students to really chase their passions, whether it's working with animals, or whether it's feeding the hungry, or whether it's working with organizations to support the fight against homelessness. It's a real way for students to be able to express themselves. Another great aspect of Maggie Walker is the number of clubs and organizations that we have. As Daniel brought up, we have a niche for just about anyone. I remember a few years ago there was a competitive Rubik's Cube club. That's a real thing. We have a fishing club. For 15 years, I was a sponsor for a Model United Nations. That's an international debate society that they go to conferences and they compete. They learn public speaking, writing skills, things like that. Daniel, are you involved in any clubs or organizations?
So I'm in a couple of clubs and organizations. I'm in Young Life, which is something we do before school. It's a group of Christians that meet with some leaders from University of Richmond and a local pastor. I'm in FCA, which is something I think is at Goochland too. And then I'm in a club called Dragons on the Field, which is a sports club, and every couple of months they have, maybe once a marking period, they have a competition in the game. It's a tournament to raise money for a charity. So next week we're playing Ultimate Frisbee, and all of the money is going to the I-9 Foundation, which is really cool.
That brings up the fact that many people know us for being an academic powerhouse, but we also bring home a lot of trophies and titles for our athletic program. We have multiple regional and state titles. We won the Wachovia Cup, I think 4 years running in the region. That is now the Wells Fargo Cup, which we continue to win in several of our sports which are listed up there. One that you're going to see that's not up there, full transparency, football. Okay, the reason is, and I know Goochland is passionate about football, we're a school of 750 students. Fielding a football team would be very, very difficult. The campus is also located in the heart of the city, so having the room in order to be able to train as well as have games, very challenging for us. But Daniel, have you been able to stay connected while you've been at Maggie Walker, been able to go with some friends to a Goochland game?
Yeah, I don't know if any of y'all know Casey Johnson. I went to Maggie Walker with her, and we've come back for quite a few Goochland games, sorry. I know particularly the homecoming games and the senior nights will come back for every once in a while. So I've been to probably 8 football games since I've started going to Maggie Walker, and I'm still able to stay in touch with my Goochland friends. It's not difficult to come back.
Daniel is one of the few students at the school that I literally look up to. He's on our volleyball team. Last year he played on our basketball team. Daniel, can you speak to the experiences of being on one of the teams?
Yeah, so the teams are all, it's all a fun experience. I know the coaches are great. We always get people that know what they're talking about. Our basketball coach last year was huge on culture. He was talking about working as a family and building a unit together. Our volleyball team, I started playing volleyball last year, and the JV coaches are awesome. I got pulled up to varsity last year for the playoffs, and then I got to go start in the state championship. It was an awesome experience. This year I'm playing again. I'm on varsity this year. It's awesome. My favorite sport so far that I've played, and I've played football, baseball, basketball, and now volleyball. It's something that they've made a fun experience, and it's something that I'll continue to do, hopefully through college.
We have a number of support structures in place for our students. Our counseling team is absolutely top shelf, and you can see a picture of them up here. They do anything from career awareness, social and emotional support, personality inventories. We have 2 of our counselors that actually divide the alphabet in order to do college planning, meet with families, be able to help students through college kickoff boot camp over the summer. These are absolutely fabulous people in order to help students at the place that they're at, whether it's in 9th grade or all the way through 12th grade. They teach study skills. We even have a mindfulness room up in the counseling center, so that way if a student needs a couple of minutes in order to collect themselves, we have that option. Daniel, do you have anything to say about the counseling department? Anything that you think is particularly special about them?
I know every year they step into your English class, either 2 or 3 times, and last year we had a job experience thing where they came in, we took a survey, and it helped us with stuff that we would be potentially interested in doing further on. And then they meet with you every year to help plan your next classes. They ask you what you want to do in college, and they show you like what classes will help you get into what majors and what you should continue to take further on. It's also really easy to change a class through the counseling department. I know freshman year, I was taking a class and it just wasn't for me, so I went and talked to one of the counselors, and I was able to drop it within, I was talking to him for like 5 minutes, and I was able to drop the class. The counseling department is very helpful, and they know what they're talking about. It's amazing.
We have 4 counselors for 750 students. This is a lot better ratio than some high schools, and it allows a very unique individual relationship between students and the counselor. I know around course scheduling, as Daniel was saying, the counselors meet with absolutely every one of the students. When going through the college planning process, the senior counselors meet with every one of the students. The counselors also write an individual letter of recommendation for every one of their students. It's a big advantage that we have. Other support services that we have a really impressive research library. I'm talking about resources and databases that I didn't see until I got to college at University of Richmond. We have tutoring and testing labs. These happen after school, these happen over lunch. We are very fortunate to have only 1 lunch block, as Daniel mentioned. This allows students to be able to seek out extra help, as well as socialize, as well as to eat. And coming from a large comprehensive high school, I realized that having 1 consolidated lunch is a big advantage over the standard, like rotating 4 blocks, and each of them is probably a half hour in length. Our lunch is more like 45 minutes or so, in order to compensate for students doing group projects, clubs meeting, things like that. We also have a lot of one-on-one interactions with our teachers. We have groups in order to help students, like peer mentors, and we have the Maggie Walker Foundation. This is something very, very special for us, that we have a private foundation that raises money in order to be able to support things like international travel or trips in the state for competitions, professional development, enhancements to classrooms, things like that. I was actually very fortunate this summer in order to go with our German students to Munich for a period of about 3 weeks, where we did an exchange program. Each of the students lived with an exchange family, and they attended class at Karl Orff Gymnasium in Munich. great experience, really meaningful travels, not just a tour, but really a cultural exchange. Up here, we have our application timeline. Where we are right now is the applications are available in counseling offices, and the applications for private and homeschool students should also be picked up with Dr. Fowler in order that the applications can go in by December 1st. This Saturday, if you are interested in seeing the building, being able to interact with current parents, current teachers, current students, we're having our open house this Saturday. The time for Goochland is 3 p.m. We put together a great program in order to be able to squeeze in a lot of information, a lot of interaction, and tours of the building, so that way you can see if this is a good fit for you. Our on-site testing, that happens January 27th, and that is a 3-hour aptitude test. It used to be a little bit more achievement-based. We've made it aptitude-based so that way it's measuring ability rather than knowledge. And that takes place in January. And at the beginning of March, acceptance letters are mailed out, and that is the end of the application process. I did want to finish with, Daniel, what is the thing that drew you to Maggie Walker? Why is it, with the options that you had available to you, what was the big draw?
Yeah, so I applied to Maggie Walker. I also applied to Blue Ridge, and I got into both. But Maggie Walker really just stood out to me at, I think at the time we were the number 4 school in the country, which is amazing. And then I also had a couple of friends that went here that were recommending the school. It's a great school. The teachers really care about you. They want you to succeed. Everybody there wants to see you succeed. It's something that I had heard, and I didn't truly understand until I got there, but the culture there is just, it's definitely different. It's something that I would recommend to all of you guys in here.
I would appreciate your time and attention this evening and hope that you will be considering whether you would like to be a dragon. Let's get a round of applause for Daniel. I really appreciate you being here. And Beth, would you like me to do questions now or hold?
Feel free to do questions now.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Maybe open with a more mundane question for those of us living in Goochland. What does transportation and just the driving and everything look like?
I've been doing this particular presentation for 7 or 8 years, and that transportation question comes up every time I come to Goochland. Daniel, can you explain it for us?
Yeah, so there's a bus that has a stop near, is it Food Line or Kroger over, I don't remember the area. Mannequin Center, right?
Yeah, the Centerville Food Line.
And so that's something that a lot of students are able to use.
So there are actually 3 hubs.
Oh, there are.
That's just the one in the western end of the county, but I don't want everybody to think they have to go that far. There's the gas station right at the Oilville exit is one of the hubs. The high school is a hub, and then that Food Line parking lot. And students come and join the bus at that point, whichever's most convenient for them, and are taken to Maggie Walker and back for the start of the school day and the end of the school day. You can pick it up from there.
I didn't know that. My dad works in the city, so he was able to take me every day to school, and it's something that school starts at 8:40, but the doors open at like 7:30 or something. And so it's not uncommon for students to be there as early as 7:30, and it's a time for students to be able to get their homework done and stuff. It's really actually a helpful time. I now drive. There's tons of parking because it's in the city, so it's like on the streets. Most of the parking around us is free. We have a parking lot that juniors and seniors are able to get passes for. And it's not something that I've found to be a problem, but it's definitely something that is there. The buses are there. It's there.
Other questions?
I'll volunteer, since you pointed out that transportation is always a question. Another common question is about the schedule. And that Maggie Walker is its own institution. It has its own school schedule. So we already heard the start of the school day doesn't align with the Goochland start of the school day. The start of the school year and the end of the school year don't commonly align either. So it's just a consideration that we like to be transparent about.
That brings up if there is inclement weather, which will sometimes happen for the western part of Goochland or the northern part of Hanover. There are times that Maggie Walker might be in session when Goochland has had a snow day. On those days, Goochland students are given a school excused absence. We want to really stress safety first, use your judgment. We do not expect students from Goochland to come in on a snow day where the conditions in Goochland have been deemed to have a snow day. But that can occasionally happen because we're serving 14 counties. And I would like to highlight that as a strength of the program because students like Daniel are able to meet and make friends with students from King and Queen, Charles City, Dinwiddie, Colonial Heights, Petersburg. And I think that regional aspect of the program is really special.
We'll go again, if that's okay. Could you, as a student in the program, talk about kind of, you mentioned lots of fun things, clubs and social events and activities and things which are great. Can you talk a little bit about how you balance that with the academics and the pressure and the rigor, and kind of how those things balance out for you?
Yeah, the school's definitely difficult. It's for some people, it's not for some people, but the teachers definitely are there to help you succeed. There's a tutoring lab after school, there's a testing lab after school, so if you really need extra help, there's always that for you. I take student ambassador this year, but it's similar to a study hall, so it's an extra block when I'm just able to manage homework through. It's really not as much as a lot of people think when they come into it. There's homework limitations, so I think it's 30 minutes of class for classes, unless it's an AP or a VCU class, in which they're allowed to give 1 hour per class. So it's 3 hours a week or an hour and a half a week. And it ends up not actually being as much as the limitation is. I probably spend maybe 5 hours a week total. It's usually never that much. It's something that I was worried about going into it, and it ended up not being as big of an issue as I thought it would be. But it's definitely manageable. I play sports, I participate in stuff after school, and I'm still able to succeed at school.
And is it like an A-B schedule?
Yeah, it works as an AP schedule for Monday through Thursday, and then our Friday is a traditional 8-period day. I always found that this was a great way to be able to check in with all of our students on Friday before they go home for the weekend. It allowed us to do enrichment activities or be able to get in a fun debate or simulation on Fridays. So I really recommend it the way it is. Our classes on AP days are about 80 minutes, and then our classes on Friday are about 40 minutes or so. I would add to what Daniel was saying about the balancing part of this, is that we have almost 70% of our students participate in one or more sports. People really wouldn't anticipate that with the reputation Maggie Walker has for challenge, but the majority of our students are taking one VHSL sport or more, and are still able to be scholars and athletes at the same time. Yes, sir.
Do you have anything like a lake bus for all those folks who do after-school sports and activities?
We would really love to, but because of the size of our footprint, going all the way from Petersburg out to King and Queen and Charles City, it's something that we've never been able to operationalize. Often students from areas like Goochland are able to organize carpools in order to be able to help with that particular aspect. Or, as Daniel was saying, in junior and senior year, being able to drive, park on campus, be able to see to their own transportation. Daniel, do you have anything to add about that?
I do know a lot of people that carpool, whether it's, I don't know as many Goochland people, but I mean, I'll be there next year, I can help drive, that's helpful. I know there's also a couple other Goochland people that play sports and would be willing to drive, but it's something that carpooling is definitely, people do, and it's not, transportation isn't something as huge of a problem as most people think. And then, I mean, if it's really that big a problem, sports are not required at our school, which there are some schools, but it's something that's encouraged, but if it's a problem, it's something that they would have to do, and they could still be able to make friends and succeed at Maggie Walker.
Yes, ma'am.
How is your music and theater program?
I think it is really quite good. Our band and orchestra and chorus teachers are all very popular. We have a full-time band teacher with 5 sections ranging from a beginner level course all the way through like a jazz improv course, or we also teach AP music theory some years, or we have seminars on music mixing and sound production. Our orchestra also has classes all the way from beginner up to like a string quartet level. And our chorus program is the smallest of the 3, but is growing very rapidly. I actually went to their performances just a few weeks ago and was very impressed with the selection of the international music that they were playing. And we have a drama program that produces a fall play and then a spring musical. I know they're getting ready for production next month. It's a small group of incredibly dedicated students that are taking part in drama. We usually have a beginner drama and an advanced drama class. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Sykes says their band director is great, in case you wanted to know.
That's good to hear. I've heard good things about Mr. Sykes.
Adding on to the band questions, do you have a marching band?
No.
We do not have a marching band since we don't have a football team, but we do have a percussion class and percussion group that I actually just saw an email today has been asked to perform in Richmond Christmas Parade coming up. I got to see them a few weeks ago at our fall concert, and I mean, wow. We have an auditorium that's close to this size, and hearing the drum line go off inside of that, you feel it inside your chest. I mean, it's very impressive.
The drum line also came to one of our volleyball games, and that was actually a really cool experience. They were sitting right behind our bench, and during timeouts and in between sets, they were playing. It's amazing.
Thank you so much, folks. If there's...
Question real quick. Well, just questions real quick. Is this a program where you have to apply for 9th grade and no later, so if they're like in 10th or 11th, they can't apply?
Yes, that's correct. Students would be applying in order to come in as a freshman. The program has so many unique courses that it's really not possible for a student to be able to come in at 10th or 11th grade and be able to make up ground for a Maggie Walker diploma. It also helps with consistency, helps with making relationships. And so what happens with Goochland is that they have a certain number of spots that's dictated by how many seniors graduated the previous year, and then that dictates how many freshman spots will be offered in the year coming up.
We actually are a little different. I know that's how a lot of the districts do it.
Okay.
We have 7 slots for this cohort, and we've had 7 slots for previous cohorts for some number of years now. We only have 5 seniors who are currently enrolled, just life got in the way, they moved out of the King District, things like that. We'll graduate 5, but we will enter 7 in the 9th grade.
All right, next question was, when they graduate, will they have some sort of degree, like, you know how the college programs do this? What do they graduate with your school?
It wouldn't be like an ACA where they would be coming out with an associate's degree. I believe the partnership out here is with Reynolds. To have an associate degree with the community college. Instead, what we offer are the courses that they're going to have on the transcript from VCU, dual enrollments, as well as the APs, so that way they can take them with them to the college of their choice. But it wouldn't be the same as an ACA program. Thank you so much, and if you have any questions after the presentations tonight, Daniel and I will be around for a few minutes in order to handle those individually. I'm going to turn things back over to Dr. Fowler. Thank you so much.
While I'm setting up my technology to present on ACA and put on that hat, I just want to reiterate what they said about the programs and the involvement of our Goochland students at Maggie Walker. I have actually had a student in recent times who decided to go to Maggie Walker because of their sports program in part. They have awesome coaches, awesome teams, and he wanted to run cross-country events. SFL, or the site coordinator for Advanced College Academy. And she likes to walk around when she presents, so I'm going to see if I can take this off. A little word of just information, I guess. I usually co-present with my partner in crime for ACA. Her name is Miss Joy Ely, and she is a Reynolds employee who is dedicated only to the Goochland High School location. Miss Ely is in class tonight and could not be here, but she sends her best and her regards, and she's available to answer any questions that you might have about the ACA program as well. The ACA program, as already has been referenced tonight, is a full college degree program that is a collaboration between Goochland High School and Reynolds Community College. And our students who participate in this program are able to earn their entire associate's degree in social science, a transferable college degree, while attending their classes here at Goochland High School. So if you have been in the district for a while, you might remember a time when we do some dual enrollment over on the Goochland campus of Reynolds and things like that. We're not doing that anymore. We actually have our staff credentialed here in the high school to be college dual enrollment instructors. So they have either a master's in the content area or a master's in some other area plus 18 in the content area, so that they are licensed and ready to deliver this rigorous instruction that would be similar to what they would get on the community college campus. So, why do we call it dual enrollment? Well, dual, of course, means two, and it's dual enrollment because students are taking classes that they need for high school graduation, but they're enrolled in those classes for Goochland High School and Reynolds, and they're getting credit at both institutions. So it's important that parents understand and students understand that when you enter dual enrollment classes, you have a transcript, not only for Goochland High School, but for that community college, one that will follow you when you go to that four-year institution. With belonging to both of those institutions, they get all the same rights and privileges as a high school student. They can participate in all Goochland sports and activities and clubs and those sorts of things. But they also can do things like belong to the Reynolds Honor Societies, or take advantage of a Reynolds Student Day when they offer reduced price tickets to go see a baseball game, things like that. They also get access to all the resources of the community college, so it's pretty cool. We were hearing from Dr. Smith about the resources that the Maggie Walker students have access to, and some of them he said he hadn't seen until he got to a college campus. Our ACA students are actually able to access those Reynolds College resources, whether it's the tutoring lab, whether it's the research information, the databases, things like that, but from the time they enter a dual enrollment class. A little bit of background. For 14 years, I was the director of school counseling here at the high school. And so you'll probably see kind of a school counselor bent in the information that I'm sharing with you tonight, because I had a lot of conversations in those early years of ACA with families who were trying to understand, well, why do I want to do this? Why would I think about having my student enrolled in this ACA program? And I always tried to have those conversations focusing on two different aspects of the program. And one of those is the admissions aspect. You know, a lot of times when I had those conversations with families, they were wondering, how is this going to work out when my child graduates high school? How's it going to look when they apply to college? It's going to look good. That's the short answer. It's a highly rigorous program. It is seen by the college admissions officers as being more rigorous than what we refer to as our a la carte dual enrollment. A la carte dual enrollment students take a single psychology class or a single math class, or maybe they do a science and a history class. But it is a part of their application packet when our ACA students are applying to college to say, these are degree-seeking students at Reynolds Community College. And they recognize, the colleges recognize, that high standard that they had to meet to accumulate the credits in all of these areas, and we'll get to the number of credits in just a minute. There's rigor that the colleges see, They are weighted credits. The dual enrollment classes are weighted in the high school GPA. They are not weighted in the college GPA because they're college classes. All college classes are college classes, and so they're not weighted. It is, like I said, an entire degree, not a singleton class. The second part of that conversation that I always had with families was about the transferability of these credits. Parents wanted to know, okay, are they getting a head start on college? Are they going to be able to get out earlier? Full disclosure, I've had lots of conversations with families too who've said, I don't want my kid to get out of college early. The work life is long, right? We don't need to rush to that. And ACA doesn't have to mean a rush to adulthood at all. It can be a little breathing room if and when these classes transfer to the four-year institution. And we have just had our 5th graduating class of ACA. It was our largest class that we've ever had. The class of 2023 had 68 college graduates in it. It was a cohort of roughly 210 students. So about a third of our seniors last year from Goochland High School were able to get this associate's degree while in high school. Notice that I'm talking big numbers, right? I'm not talking 7, I'm not talking limited cohort size. Because the difference between ACA and these other programs we've heard about tonight is that admission to ACA is not competitive. When I say it's not competitive, please don't think I mean that ACA is easy. It's a rigorous program, and it requires a great deal of dedication on the part of the student, but we are not limited to 18 slots or 7 slots. We are dedicated as a school division to having as many students in the ACA program who are ready and capable of being successful in that program and want to do it. And I want to, big kudos to our school board for their support of the ACA program and allowing us to enroll students in that way, because you may know friends in other divisions where ACA exists. That is not the case in any other division. Every other division, they limit the size and the number of students who can participate and get this associate's degree. But here, you just have to meet the admissions requirements, the criteria, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. But if you meet them and you fill out the application, then we're going to give you a shot to prove what you got. And I think that's a great part of this program that I want to make sure that I share. Now, 5 years, I said, we've been doing this, and so we've seen a lot of transferability and transfer of these credits to colleges, both in-state and out-of-state colleges. The transferability of credit is always up to the senior institution. So it's always up to the 4-year program what they're going to transfer. Now, you might have heard a lot of people say, these things don't transfer out of state. Not true. We've had lots of students be able to transfer their entire degree, all 60 plus credits, to an out-of-state school. I'll give you an example from last year. We have a student at University of Central Florida. I've been in this county 28 years. I've never known anybody at the University of Central Florida. It's a really big school. I had no idea. She was able to, did you go to the University of Central Florida over here? Yes. She was able to transfer all 60 of her credits to the University of Central Florida and get a head start on her degree in that way. We've seen them transfer to North Carolina schools. We've seen them transfer to South Carolina. University of South Carolina loves this thing. So we're seeing great success in transferring out of state, but we're also seeing exceptions. Total disclosure, Wake Forest, private, out of state, they don't take it. University of Richmond, I don't know who they think they are, and I can say this because I'm an alumni. I know, you know I'm a spider too, and I love my spiders, but they do not accept any dual enrollment credits. So that's not to say that if you're interested in University of Richmond, you don't want to be ACA, because you still get that same admissions prong, right? You're still going to get that little bump when the University of Richmond admissions officer is looking at your application, that you had rigor and you had a weighted GPA and all of these things, but you are not going to get the transferability. It's not guaranteed. I should put a little asterisk beside that, because there is a group in Virginia, You might have heard of them. Every once in a while there's an ad on the radio or something for SHEV, the State Council of Higher Education in Virginia. And what they do is they make all the four-year schools that are public schools in Virginia play nicely with the community colleges. And they have gotten into the sandbox, and they have worked out agreements that say, these classes, if you take them in a Virginia community college like Reynolds, are guaranteed to transfer to these four-year public institutions. And so while we were already seeing great transferability of these credits, we are now able to say with conviction that some of them are absolutely guaranteed transfer because they're on that SHEV list. Like I said, we've seen very successful transferability. I don't mean to give the impression that private schools don't take these. Randolph-Macon has taken all 60. We have seen Liberty take all 60. So there are definitely private schools that are accepting the transfer credits. And I alluded to the fact earlier that some parents, myself included, are not looking for their child to start in the world of work at the age of 19 or 20. 60 college credits is the equivalent of 2 years of your four-year degree. But it doesn't have to mean that you get out early. What we have commonly seen for families that do want their students to get out early is not that they're getting out in 2 years, because they still have to meet their degree requirements. These are meant to, this degree for Reynolds is meant to fill what's called Gen Ed, general education requirements at a four-year school. When you get to a four-year school, guys, my students in the room, you're still gonna have to take a little English, a little math, a little science, a little history. Those are your Gen Ed requirements. And you can knock a lot of those out with the ACA so that when you get to that four-year school and you want to be a physics major, you can take a whole bunch of physics right off the bat. So it gives you access, and it gives you the gift of time in accessing those physics classes a little bit faster than other people who are stepping on that campus for the first time. It also gives you the flexibility to take a lighter load while you're in college. And I'll put my mom hat back on. Proud graduate, proud mom of a graduate. I told you Blue Ridge, she's also an ACA graduate. My daughter, I didn't just have this because of Unity Day. She's at UVA. I was gonna wear it to Parents Weekend next week. She's at UVA, ACA graduate, and UVA accepted 58 of her credits out of her 63 credits as transfer credits. She met with her advisor earlier this week, and her goal, because Mama told her this was her goal from the beginning, is you get 4 years on campus, but I want you to get a master's in that 4 years. So she met with the advisor and said, that was her goal, can I do this? And the advisor said, you're giving yourself 5 more semesters to get your bachelor's before you start your master's. You could do it in 3 if you wanted. You're good. And so now she gets the gift of time in school where she doesn't have to take 5 or 6 classes a semester. She can take a lighter load. And my daughter's an overachiever. She said, Mom, but I think I can do it. I want to take more classes. Cool, you can double major. Cool, you can get a minor. Wait, you could get a job? I don't like that. You could get an internship. So knocking out some of these credits in advance doesn't have to mean graduating from college early. It's just giving them more flexibility when they get to that 4-year campus. So that's kind of down the road, right? That's after you complete the degree. Let's talk about what you get in ACA while you're in high school. So this theme of 2, you're enrolled in 2 schools. There are 2 advantages that we talk about to it. I will also say that you get a doubled support network when you're an ACA student. So every one of our Goochland students has the amazing Goochland High School faculty at their disposal and supporting them. They have loving parents. We know our community. They have great counselors who are here to support them. When you're in ACA, you also get the college dual enrollment director. His name is Mr. Alan Riddle, and he comes out once a month, and he's available to students and to faculty members. You get me, yeah. You get the site director, and I serve in this role. I have an office here in Goochland High School, as well as at the division school board office. and I am here and available to meet with students. We do academic reviews of students. If somebody's struggling, we're like, hey, let's talk about this. Let's talk about a plan to get you back on track. What are you struggling with? Okay, have you been using this intervention? Have you been going to this tutoring session? Do you know you have free tutoring available at Reynolds? You know, we keep that communication going with the students. And when I say we, that's because they also get the ACA career coach, and that is my friend Joy Ely, who couldn't be here tonight. Miss Ely, as you can tell, is a very happy, approachable woman. She's a part-time employee for Reynolds, but all of her hours are here at Goochland. She is here at least 3 days a week, and sometimes I have to kick her out. She wants to come 4. She meets with students, helps with the academic plans as well. She's checking on their Reynolds graduation to make sure they're enrolled in all the right classes. She's watching out for their Reynolds GPA. She's helping with communication with Reynolds professors, because there are 2 classes where students will take them virtually, and they will be in with Reynolds professors in those virtual classes. So those virtual classes are in their Goochland schedule. We'll give them time to do it. We have a facilitator in the room, a Goochland employee, who's making sure they're doing what they're supposed to, who's making sure the technology works, who's keeping them on track. But sometimes college professors, and everybody needs to know this if your child is headed to college professors do not talk to parents. It's actually against the law. It's against something called FERPA, Federal Educational Right to Privacy Act. And when your child enters a college class, FERPA is protecting them in that way. Now, Miss Ely, she's going to get your kid to sign a waiver to FERPA because they're still high school students. And she has them sign it so that you can contact the college professor and they can talk to you about what your child is doing or not doing in the class. Sometimes the college professors don't understand that. They're just so used to it, can't talk to parents. And that's when Miss Ely and I will also get involved. And we'll communicate and find out what's going on and build that bridge of communication between the home and the professor if that's needed. So it's just an added layer, twice as much support for our ACA students within the institutions of both the high school and the college. So a word you hear a lot when we talk about ACA is the ACA cohort. And we talk about the students as a cohort because there are a lot of benefits to being kind of this smaller group working towards a common goal when you're in a larger organization like a high school. You'll hear a lot of cohort opportunities when you get to your 4-year schools. There are living and learning communities and things like that organized around lots of different topics of interest to students. ACA is a cohort in which our students hold each other accountable for that common goal that they've set for each other. So when you're in ACA and you know that person's in ACA, we're getting through this together. And that is only increased when you apply in 8th grade and enter the cohort as a 9th grader. There was a question earlier tonight about, oh, is this one of those programs you have to apply to only in 8th grade? You're going to hear that ACA is not that. But I'm here to tell you that the greatest benefit to ACA is if you apply in 8th grade and come in as a 9th grader in that cohort. They have a shared higher academic standard for themselves. These students are taking rigorous classes in 9th and 10th grade. We encourage them to take as many honors classes as they're prepared to excel in 9th and 10th grade because it's a good training ground for the college classes that predominantly come in your junior and senior year. We also encourage them, but it's completely their choice, to take a class called Humanities in 9th grade and again in 10th grade. It's similar to what Maggie has to offer in, I forgot what you called it. Global Studies. It combines the English and the history, not the fine arts as much, but the English and history study. That class meets every day. Students are getting their English credit, their history credit. They have 2 teachers in there, but they are doing all the levels of research, all the practice in public speaking that you would expect for students who are headed towards college courses. And so we're making sure that they're prepared when they get to those college courses, typically in their junior year. Now, the research has been done on educational cohorts, and it says that students who are in educational cohorts have improved academic outcomes, they have a greater connection to others, they are more motivated to achieve, they have a greater sense of belonging within an organization, a larger organization, and they have an increased ability to collaborate. So, looking at this, I can say as a mother, gosh, I would like my kiddo to have all of those things in every organization they're a part of, and being a part of a cohort helps you to accomplish that. So while they're a cohort, we also try to build in as much individuality and flexibility for these students as possible. And that has to do with our approach that I was talking about earlier. We want as many kids in here in ACA as can be successful in ACA. And so it is absolutely individually paced. The college classes can begin for our most advanced students as early as 9th grade. So if I have any 8th graders in here who are in Algebra 2 right now, if you are admitted to ACA, we will seek and we will get from Reynolds permission for you to begin a dual enrollment math class next year in 9th grade. And no Goochland student is allowed to take a dual enrollment class, and this is Virginia Community College System policy, before their junior year, unless they get special approval, and we get special approval only for ACA. So that's a door that opens a little bit earlier when you're in this program. We commonly see 9th or 10th grade students taking dual enrollment, beginning dual enrollment, early, we call them our early starters, in the areas of math or world language. And if I have 8th graders sitting in here, let's see, do I have any 8th graders sitting in geometry right now? Okay, if you're in geometry, then you will be an early starter in math in 10th grade. Do I have any 8th graders sitting in a second year, not a part 2, but a second year of world language, like Spanish 2, French 2? You will be an early starter in world language in 10th grade. So you can begin earning college credit, transferable college credit on a college transcript as early as 15 years old. Pretty cool. Everyone has to take a class. It's a very short class. It's a 2-week class. We offer it at 2 different times to try to allow maximum flexibility for families on vacations and things like that. In the summer between the 10th and 11th grade year, it's called SDV 100. It is a college success skills class. It is a requirement for the degree, and you have to get a C or better in it before we will allow you, and before Reynolds will allow you, to move into the full ACA program. And I really love this, to be honest, because that class is only 1 credit. It's virtual, so super flexible for families, right, during the summer. But if you don't get the C, that's probably a pretty good indicator that you might struggle with the rigorous curriculum that's about to come in ACA. And this class does not go on your high school transcript. So it's kind of a nice warning shot. Now, as I say that, we had, I think it was 72 students that took this class last summer. All 72 of them got A's, B's, I think maybe 2 C's. So everyone made it through unscathed. I'm not trying to, it's a very rare thing for our student not to, but I love that it is a training ground. And currently that class is taught by Ms. Ely, which is another great thing because you start to build that relationship with her even more as you're going into the dual enrollment classes full throttle. By the junior year, every single student is taking 4 or more courses in their Goochland High School schedule that are dual enrollment. There's a potential course in that summer between the 11th and 12th grade. It is an option for a way to get an elective out of the way. Quite often, I don't know, you guys, you have students in lower grade levels, but I don't know if you've heard about this thing called early release. Our seniors really love it. You guys looking forward to early release one day? They're smiling. You can't see it, but they're smiling. And our seniors always want to know, am I going to be able to get early release and only take 7 classes when I'm a senior and leave a little bit early. And one of the ways to make sure there's room for that in your schedule is to take a summer online elective in that summer between 11th and 12th grade. But again, it is not required, that is an option that is there for students. Another place we're super flexible is in our math pathways. If you picked up today our curriculum card, it's that very colorful card that says 9th grade, and 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. At the bottom, you see a whole lot of math. Do not freak out. Your children are not going to take all those math classes. They are going to follow one of 4 math pathways, and they're going to follow it all the way across. And the bare minimum requirement to be on track for one of those pathways is geometry by 9th grade. And that's simply because geometry by 9th grade means algebra 2 in 10th grade, and then that gives me junior year and senior year to get my 2 math classes that are needed dual enrollment for the degree. So it's not a gatekeeping, it's really, this is the prerequisite knowledge you have to be successful there, okay? So I told you earlier, I really advise you to apply in 8th grade because there are places that you might accidentally misstep if you're thinking, I'll just apply in 9th grade or 10th grade. Gosh, you might not be on the right math track. And you didn't mean to get off of it, but no counselor found it, Ms. Ely didn't find it, I didn't find it, because we didn't know you wanted to be an ACA because you never told us, because you didn't apply. So know that it's, if you apply and change your mind, that's cool, we can all still be friends, we'll help you out still. But it's really advantageous to go ahead and get on our radar coming into high school so we can make sure that you stay on track. Now, those math pathways, I told you the bare minimum is geometry in 9th grade. The highest pathway is a dual enrollment, 5 credit, pre-calculus in 9th grade. And that pathway is going to take you all the way to Cal 3. Okay? Right? A lot of options in between, but we have flexibility there so that this can be an advantageous program for our kids who are humanities kids. That was my daughter. She never has to take a math again. She did college calculus, she did college statistics. UVA said, you're good, have a nice day, enjoy your political science degree. And she didn't have to do it again. But it's also good for our students who want to go into STEM fields. We have students who just graduated who are going to be physics majors. Physicists, I guess they're going to be. They're on a pathway to get a doctorate in physics. We do have a lot of folks in this program, by the way, who want to go get a master's or want to get a doctorate, and they realize that that's going to take a lot of time and that's going to take a lot of money, so let me get started on that a little bit earlier and a little bit more cheaply. We have some other flexibility in there. We have the 2 to 3 online courses, and whether it's 2 or 3 depends on your math track, honestly, and I'll show that in a minute. Why that gives flexibility is because they're online, so they can fit anywhere in your high school schedule. Have you ever tried to get a class and you couldn't get it because it conflicted with the math you had to have? Anybody had that situation? No. That doesn't happen in online classes because we can put you in them in any block of your schedule. We give you a list of elective choices. Everybody has to take a humanities or fine arts elective online in this program. We do not have an instructor here, face-to-face, who is credentialed as a dual enrollment professor in one of those areas. But that's actually kind of a good thing, because if we did, and she was an art teacher, you'd have to take art. But now we can give you a whole list of electives that you can choose from. And the other thing that's super cool and flexible about this program is that you can combine it with other interests. If you are sitting in some of our neighboring counties right now, and you are listening to this presentation about ACA, I already told you, you're going to be limited to the number of spots, so it's going to be competitive. The other thing is you're going to be drawn to a certain school if you're ACA, and if you're ACA, you can't also do the CTE program. You can't do this career academy. If you're ACA, you can't also do Blue Ridge. You have to choose. But here, because we're one high school, we are able to combine these programs, and we've had students in all of them complete successfully both Blue Ridge and ACA or our CTE academies, and ACA, so we know that this works, and there's flexibility enough in your schedule to do it. As a matter of fact, it's a pretty rare thing to find a Blue Ridge student nowadays who isn't also an ACA. I got my Blue Ridge kids here. You want to raise your hand if you're an ACA? Yeah. Yeah. Very, very rare thing. Okay. So, here's another point of flexibility, but it comes with a big warning. Yes, we do sort of have flexibility of when you can apply for the program. We will open up applications for the month of September when your child is in 9th grade and 10th grade, and they can apply then while they're in high school. But the academic course placement requirements increase with each year. So I just said 8th grade, you gotta be in Algebra 1. 9th grade, you gotta be in geometry, and you've gotta start a world language. And if you didn't start that world language, we didn't catch it because we didn't know you wanted to be ACA. If you're not ACA, you just want an advanced studies diploma, you can wait till 10th grade to start your language. So again, it just gives more opportunity for things to be missed or for us to get off track. And as those requirements increase, those who apply later have an increased risk of not being where they need to be to jump into the ACA program. And I'll give you an example. A lot of times people hear this and they think, oh, that must mean that child wasn't in the advanced class. So, they applied late to ACA, poor child. They weren't in the advanced class, they couldn't access it. I've actually seen the opposite happen, where a child is so advanced that in 9th or 10th grade, they took pre-calculus, the high school pre-calculus honors class, then applied to ACA, and I was like, ooh, snap. That should have been dual enrollment. Had you been in ACA, you would have taken it as dual enrollment. And I can't put you in a college calculus class if you don't have college pre-calculus credit. So you can't jump in now without repeating a class. So these are just cautionary tales, and I'm happy to answer any questions about them, but you get all eyes making sure that you have all the options open to you if you apply in 8th grade. Common pitfalls, I already talked about math, world language, and chemistry, and I'm always going to give you, your children, the advice I would give my children, my very best advice, which is apply in 8th grade. If you decide this isn't the program for you, you're not interested in it, maybe you want to do some of the a la carte dual enrollment, that's okay. We can definitely do that down the road. You can make a different decision, but if you want all the supports and all of the doors open to you, please apply in 8th grade. Okay, this is where it gets real, y'all. You got that colorful chart in front of you. If you picked up the one that is from Reynolds and has the Reynolds logo on the front and this on the back, there's one error on it. Yes, that one with the picture of the grad. There's one error on the Reynolds one. It's a math error, don't worry about it, it's very minute. If you picked up the one-sided one that I made, there are no errors. So feel free to have both of them, that's totally cool. This is what it kind of looks like. If you're thinking, man, this is sounding good, but she's also sounding like a used car salesman, how is this going to fit into my whole kids' high school experience and give them any breathing room to do anything else? This is set up to show you what it typically looks like in an ACA schedule for all 4 years of high school. And we've already talked about the humanities course. It's not required, but it's strongly encouraged. Total disclosure, if your child is in Blue Ridge, they cannot do humanities because their history is a Blue Ridge class. So then they just do English 9 honors. Cool, not a problem. We can do that all day. They have to be in a world language by 9th grade. If they're not going to be eligible in 9th grade. And they have to be on one of those math pathways, but only one of those math pathways, not all 4. By 10th grade, if a student's applying, they're applying in September. We've been in school for a few weeks now. We're out of the add drop period. If they're not in chemistry, they are out of sync for ACA. So that's kind of the falling off point for a kiddo who applies in 10th grade that they might be misplaced to be able to access the curriculum. They have to be in Algebra 2 by 10th grade. And this is a huge one, and this is honestly where we have lost a couple of students throughout the years. They have to earn a C or better in Algebra 2 to qualify for a dual enrollment math class the next year. That is a Reynolds policy. It's actually a Virginia Community College System policy. We can't change it, we can't fight it, we got no legs to stand on there. So that's a really important thing to know. And if you're gonna be in Algebra 2 next year as a 9th grader, and you're gonna be in ACA, that's an important thing to know, right? Gotta get that C or better in Algebra 2. If you have to be in that Algebra 2 by 10th grade, like I said, and if you're on that path, that's the one that we call a truly statistics pathway. It's for more of our humanities majors. They're gonna be taking a Math 154. That's the class that's wrong on the Reynolds one. It says Math 161. And that was a pre-calculus, and so it's mixing calculus and stats, and who needs that? You don't really need that. And what we found is 161 is not one of those guaranteed transfer classes anymore, and we are trying to get you the most bang for your buck. So instead, we are going to be offering, starting next year, a Math 164, quantitative reasoning on this pathway, and then that goes to a 245 statistics. Both of those are guaranteed transfer classes with the four-year colleges, and that meets the degree requirements for this AS degree. And then this pathway is for our kiddos who are really loving math. They take a Math 167, which is a pre-calculus with trigonometry. That's that five credit class I told you about. Most college classes are 3 credits. This one's 5. The 263 they take the next year is 4. So 5 and 4 is, say it with me, 9. 9 credits, where the kids who did this pathway, 3 and 3, they got how many? 6. So that's why I said it's 2 to 3 online electives. A kiddo who only takes 2 classes, 2 math classes, and ends at statistics is gonna need a 3rd online elective. They're not gonna hit the 60 required credits for the degree. But if they take that 167, 263 path, you only have to take the 1 online elective and the 1 online computer class, and you're done with online. And if I totally lost you, it's okay. I know I'm in the weeds. I told you I was a school counselor. I can't help it. Okay, these pathways kind of get more rigorous as we go up. You can see that those are our early starters, our Math 167 and 10th grade kids. And then they have lots of options for their senior year. Counseling advice, you never want to run out of math. If you are trying to be competitive for college admission, even if you've met the requirements for your degree or even your college degree, you do not want to not have math in your senior year. It doesn't look as good during that admissions process. And so please notice that there are options there and that we're not running out. And then the 4th pathway gets us just crazy, crazy far. And those are our 9th graders who started with dual enrollment path. That is very, very rare. We don't have a single student doing it this year, for instance. That's a little bit about that 2nd online elective that I was talking about. It's only those kids who took 2 dual enrollment math classes, ending with 245 as the 2nd one, who will need a 2nd online elective. Okay, if I totally lost you on that, don't worry, we got time to figure that out. All right, so now let's talk about cost. This is a total disclosure, a place that's very different for this program versus the other 2 you heard about today as well. It is the only program that has cost associated with it, and that's because you are earning college credit in this program. Please know that because we provide the instructors and we invest and pay their salaries, Reynolds is able to discount the tuition that we are charged for it. And so what we're paying, what our students are currently paying, and this is set every year by the school board, is $60 per college credit. And I told you a typical college class is 3 credits, so it's about $180 a class. Now that probably sounds like, whew, that's a lot. If your child was to take the same class on the Reynolds campus, they would pay $171 per credit. So tremendous savings to take it here. And let's just go ahead and work this out comparatively for what it looks like in 23-24 school year tuition and fees. Now this is not room and board, because we're going to look at four-year colleges. This is just the tuition and fees at a private school, just to go to class. You didn't get anything to eat, you don't have a bed to sleep in. It's almost $39,000 on average this year. For a public school, if you're an out-of-state student, so maybe you're going to the University of North Carolina, somewhere where you're not a resident, the average, again, just for the tuition and fees, is about $27,000. For a public in-state school, it's about $13,500. That, again, that's an average. All of them are a little bit different, and I am here to tell you, as somebody who got that tuition bill this semester for the first time, it's a heck of a lot more than that when you put in the room and the board. Look to double it, more than double it, actually. If you were a full-time enrolled student at Reynolds, taking a full load, it's $5,136 a year. And in Goochland, for those same classes, on the Reynolds transcript, the same rigor, the same textbook, the same syllabus, the same everything, you're going to pay about $1,800 for that year. Now, students and families are billed each year based on the student's schedule. So we're not going to charge you for something, for college credit, if your kid hasn't started college classes yet. That's something we do a little different too. Some of our neighbors say, no, you're going to pay every year. No, because you might change your mind, and that's okay. We want to give you flexibility. So when you have a student who's an early starter, you might pay some of that college tuition in 10th grade based on their schedule. But in general, if you're looking at junior and senior year only, it's about $1,800 a year. That's at the current price of $60 a credit hour. I don't have a crystal ball, but I will say that that number was increased last year, and it was increased in a way that I don't think it's likely to be increased by the school board for the next couple of years, but I can't guarantee that. I can only give you the most up-to-date information. And then you will never hear Beth Fowler talk about the cost of ACA without this tagline: tuition assistance available to those who qualify. Okay? I told you, we are dedicated as a division to having any student in this program who can be successful in this program, and we are not going to let a silly dollar amount stand in the way of that. So for students who qualify for free or reduced price lunch, there's another form they have to fill out, and they have to provide a little documentation to our finance department, but they can get full free college tuition, get this associate's degree for free. As a bonus to everybody, we provide the textbooks. You might not know this, but when you go to college and take a class, they don't issue you a textbook, you gotta pay for that sucker. But here, for the ACA classes, we're gonna pay for it for everybody. Maybe your family doesn't qualify for free or reduced price lunch, but man, paying $1,800 on a single day in August, whew, that seems like a lot. Talk to me. We work out payment plans. I have several families who are on a monthly payment plan right now. We'll work with you. There's nothing we can work out, can't work out, as long as we're communicating. All right. All of that being said, applications are now open for ACA. This is the paper application, the only paper application that we're talking about tonight. It is available in the in the middle school counseling office. They're all printed out there for you. The deadline is December 8th, which is the same as the Blue Ridge deadline. The Maggie deadline is December 1, however. Please note that. Maggie is earlier, December 1, and then a week later, Blue Ridge and ACA. I would like to share a Joe Fowler quote. He happens, if you guys know Joe Fowler, he's the athletic director here, and he happens to be my husband. And he says, help me out guys, help me out football players. To be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late. And to be late is unacceptable. And that's true when it comes to these advanced programs. Those deadlines are hard deadlines. Being early is on time. Please don't wait until the last minute, because if the internet crashes or your printer's out of ink like that, you know, that's late, and late's unacceptable. So you can turn them in tomorrow if you want to. And what you'll find is that really the applications for all of these programs are not going to take very long. They're not very arduous applications. For Blue Ridge and Maggie Walker, the kind of bigger hurdles are the testing that we'll do in January and February, but there'll be plenty of time to schedule that and talk through all of that. But the application itself doesn't take long. Just get started. There is a day in middle school that we are providing support. I believe it's November 16th during Eagle Block. I'm going to be in there with all the middle school counselors. Any of the 8th graders who are applying are welcome to come into the library over on the middle school side, and we're calling it an Applications 101 workshop. And it's one of my favorite days of the year because we sit down with your students and we help them to start this, because sometimes that's the biggest thing, right? Just getting started. And the questions they ask, oh, they're adorable. What's my zip code? They have no idea. You know, it's really a great experience in just how to fill out a form, and we're happy to help them through that. We also have a date coming up, November 6th. You have a holiday, right? Yeah. November 6th, we always do it when Maggie is closed, where we are going to have Goochland students come to the middle school during Eagle Block, and they will sit down with any 8th grader who wants to attend, and you can pick their brains about their experience. So Danny told us the truth. Danny's a sweet, wonderful young man, but if you think Danny only said those things because Dr. Smith was standing beside him, you can ask Danny or other students that day from all of these programs, what's it really like? Or, gosh, did you lose contact with your friends in Goochland? Tell me more about your social life at Maggie Walker. Are there girls there? You know, the questions that the students are really more interested in maybe than the parents. So we like to give them that opportunity. We call that one Advanced Programs Real Talk. And that is going to be on November 6th. And you'll be able to sign up through that thing. You'll sign up for Eagle Block with, I don't know what it's called, it's new this year. But it will be an option for you to sign up for on that day. The criteria we'll be looking at on your application for ACA, again, you have to be completing Algebra 1 successfully. You have to be taking geometry in 9th grade. We're going to look at your grades. We're going to look at your teacher recommendations. If you are applying for Blue Ridge, don't do ACA teacher recommendations. We'll use your Blue Ridge ones. Let's make this easier on you and on the teachers. And we're going to look to make sure you have a strong potential for this academic success in the rigorous classes that are coming. That's it. No numbers game, no quota, no minimum, no maximum. If you can be successful in this, we want you in there. And that is all, guys. That's my contact information. That's also one of my favorite pictures of the class of 2023. They were told to be silly. Please note, Anna Fowler is like the only one who doesn't know how to be silly. What is she doing? She's smiling. But everyone else is being silly, and that is right before they walked down the aisle of the Siegel Center and graduated with their associates from Reynolds 2 weeks before they graduated from Goochland High School. We had the largest ACA of any of the districts around, with, as I said, 68 graduates last year, and they are off doing wonderful things. Thank you, and let me invite up my ACA students to answer any questions.
I'm Mike Dameron, I'm a junior. I'm CJ Thurston, I'm a junior.
I'm Jay Fowler, I'm a sophomore.
Josh Gaskell, sophomore.
Some of these gentlemen look familiar to you because you saw them earlier tonight. We do have a lot of Blue Ridge ACA combo kids, as I said, up here. Please, open up the floor to ask them questions about how that combination works, about their experience. Do they get to still have a life? Wyatt and CJ in particular, they are juniors, so they are off and running as full-time college students. Jed and Josh are early starters in 10th grade who are taking a couple of classes right now. Questions?
Can you describe how how is it different if you do the combo program with Blue Ridge versus not?
Okay. So, with the combo with Blue Ridge and ACA, you already talked about how you have the one Blue Ridge class for each year, and then you have the senior project. But there's not really, like, they don't really contradict each other that much. They kind of work well together. The only thing I really know that Blue Ridge doesn't allow you to do is take humanities freshman year, because you have to take that different class. So I think everything else is like kind of smooth. It's just we good.
Anybody have more to add?
I think they work well together. Like, they work in tandem. They're really nice to pair up together as some, like, you can't pair Maggie Walker with anything because it's like a whole different school itself. But ACA and Blue Ridge work really well together.
What would you say is the advantage of doing the combo?
I think the Blue Ridge is rigorous and it's easier to, like, you don't really start ACA until your senior and junior years, but Blue Ridge gets off and running in your freshman year, so you can like take some of those more rigorous classes before the junior and senior year.
Also, both are good on college resumes too. So.
The school counseling has said that when a student applies to college, we send a Goochland High School profile that allows the school to look at their transcript within the context of what they had available to them. When they're a Blue Ridge student, they get a second profile. When they're an ACA student, there's another profile. And so it's very front and center in that kind of admissions packet, the multiple layers of programs, rigorous programs those students are involved in.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yes,
Sorry, I have one more.
No, you're.
So the paper shows and the options you had was for the associates in social sciences?
Yes.
Is that purely an example, or is that the program?
That is the degree. It is meant to be a transferable degree to the senior institutions. It's designed for that, to meet those general education requirements. So you'll see there's not room for a student to major within that. I'll kind of, I'll put an asterisk beside that. Because of the math pathways, it allows you to kind of line up for a STEM major or a humanities major. But really, it's meant to knock out that stuff that everybody has to take, so that when you get to the 4 year, you can take the stuff you really want to take.
Got it. So the math track is really the way to think about how to customize a little bit based on where they want.
Absolutely, and Miss Ely and I are, hey, I love the
Hey, I actually am doing this because we're videotaping. I want to make sure people can hear. Miss Ely and I are there to work with the students as they get closer and closer to knowing what school they want to go to or what they want to major in, and to advise them as to what course offerings, what electives, what math is going to set them up to be further towards their degree pathway at the 4-year school. And I'll give an example from last year. I already referenced one of our students who's at JMU to be on a pathway to get a doctorate in physics. He's a physics undergrad major now. And he could not get a physics class here that he wanted to take in his senior year. And he came to me and he was like, Dr. Fowler, I don't know what to do. I'm so far down the road on ACA. I really want to finish it. But it's an ACA class that's standing in the way. And I said, what school do you want to go to? He said, JMU. I said, okay, let's go look at the physics undergrad degree requirements at JMU. And what we found, lickety-split, is that taking that physics class, which was an AP class, even if he had gotten a perfect score in the AP exam, they would not transfer it into JMU for a physics major. They wanted him to take the physics at JMU. But what we also found was that Chemistry 111 is a prerequisite to being a physics major. So I said, I know this sounds weird, but you really should not take physics this year. Go take Chem 111, knock that requirement out so that when you get to JMU next year, you can jump in and start to do the things you need for your major. So it gets really nuanced. Miss Ely and I are very odd people. We enjoy digging in like that, and are happy to do it at any time.
A question in regards to electives, actually. So when a student gets to the point of choosing electives, are those electives typically here at Gibson High School, or do they go over to the Reynolds campus? How does that work?
Yeah, so the humanities fine arts electives are offered online. So they're virtual courses that are with Reynolds instructors online, but they fall into your Goochland schedule. So we have a virtual lab here with that facilitator that makes sure you're on track, but within that lab, you might have Blue Ridge kids doing their online class, you might have ACA kids doing their virtual elective. There's only one other class that's required for the degree at ACA, and it's called ITE 152. It is a computer class, and that one is online as well. So typically what students do is pair those two together because they're semester long, and that's a whole year, your first semester, second semester.
Can you talk to me about doing both ACA and Blue Ridge and then the availability of their electives at Goochland? So like for some of the smaller electives like band or drama where there's only 1 or 2 sections of it, I hear there's difficulty in getting those kids in those electives.
I've never been into band or drama really, but the first year of Blue Ridge ACA paired together, you get one elective that it just can't interfere with the Blue Ridge course really. The second year I also got one. I don't know.
So my freshman year, I also had one elective. I took weight training. Then also sophomore year, I took that too. And then this year, I have study hall as one of my electives. So I did finish Spanish. So I don't know if you would have the elective if you didn't take Spanish. Or like already finished Spanish by then. But
Can you talk a little bit about the study hall? I'm glad you mentioned it. It's not just called study hall.
ACA study hall.
It's ACA study hall. And so only ACA students have the opportunity,
The opportunity in their junior and senior year to take a study hall. And that was something we put in last year to support our students understanding, man, this is rigor, right? And they are full-time college students, and then we're expecting them to take how many high school classes on top of all of that? And we said, okay, if they're full-time college students, let's think about what a college experience is. You do not go to class from 9 o'clock till 3:30 every day. You might have a 9 o'clock, you might have an hour break, you go eat your lunch, and then you might have a 12:30, right? So we emulate that by giving them the opportunity at a study hall to give them more time to get the things done, which is really a true college experience. We also, full disclosure, see it as a social emotional support for them. Because what we were running into was these really competitive kids who were not going to take an elective that wasn't weighted because it was going to bring their GPA down, and they were, okay, dude, study hall. It's not going in your GPA, it's fine. And so it's been a very popular option. Certainly Wyatt can speak a little bit more to that. I'll also add in though from the scheduling perspective that with the exception of this year's 9th grade cohort, we have 2 sections of Blue Ridge and we have 3 or 4 sections of every ACA class. So when band is offered only once, we're usually, or drama, I'm just using an example, we're usually able to toggle some things around because the ACA and Blue Ridge classes are offered multiple times.
You're gonna talk about how you use study hall, what if you didn't have study hall, how would life be?
So I'm only having study hall for 1 semester. So next semester I won't have that. I'm taking an online class for Blue Ridge. So basically, study hall so far has taught a lot. Like it's a whole block for you to do any extra homework you have. So I've been going home with a lot less work and just been able to do a lot more stuff in my free time with it.
More questions?
All right, we've held you captive long enough. I hope you'll agree that you got enough information that it was worth coming out today. We are so thankful for your time and energy coming out. We're happy to stick around. I know the directors and myself were here to answer questions, individual questions about your student if there's something you didn't want to ask in front of the group. And just thank you and have a great, safe evening. Safe travels home.